Hello and welcome back to Real Estate School. My name is Michael Montgomery, and today what we're talking about is how you can be a real estate agent while being on a budget. Now, the reason for this is so many of us are starting to really experience what life's like in the face of inflation. Now, not only when it comes to our real estate services and our products, but all of those tend to be going up, but also just generally speaking, our lifestyles, our mortgages. So life's becoming more expensive for us in real estate. So how can we go about driving business and being successful real estate agents while still maintaining a budget? Now, this is an extremely important concept for us to understand and something that we'll have to learn at some point in time in our careers. But here's the thing, is in the face of inflation, when all of our costs are going up as real estate agents, it's extremely challenging for us to just increase our fees. Yes, we can do it, but it's extremely challenging. We end up pricing ourselves out. And so we do have to remain relatively competitive in the marketplace. And that's because we are in a competitive industry and there tends to be generally accepted fee structures. Now, there is no set fee structure. I think we all have an understanding of that. But that being said, if we start to increase our fee structure, it can be a little bit more challenging to compete. That's not to say other businesses aren't experiencing this as well. They most definitely are, but it is very challenging in more competitive businesses. So we have to get creative as real estate agents on how we can go about still driving business while being on a budget. Now, the first thing that we need to understand as real estate agents is when we start to look at inflation, no, it's not fun to have to pay more or to end up dealing in markets where prices are coming down and we're having to try and reduce prices or places are taking longer to sell. So potentially our income is being impacted. That is not fun. I understand that. However, we can turn that around. We can look at this differently. We can look at this as an obstacle. And this is an obstacle that honestly, we will all face at some point in time in our careers. And regardless where we're at in our careers, if we're experiencing this, we can also see this as a benefit because this is going to help us become resilient and creative. So resiliency and creativity are huge in real estate. And we could either look at this time of inflation as being something that's very negative and we're just going to have to try to white knuckle it and get through it. Or we can see, hey, how can we be creative and how can we improve our resiliency through this? So really what this is a mindset and how we look at it. And if we tend to look at it like we just have to white knuckle it and get through it, we can be operating with a lot of fear. And that can also just create a lot of anxiety in our life. However, if we look at this as an opportunity to improve ourselves and to work on certain skill sets, which we're going to discuss today, we're going to discuss different skill sets that you can work on that are low cost. This is an opportunity for us to continue to try and improve these skill sets. And so the first thing to keep in mind here is we have to have a positive mindset about how we're going to approach this. We can't control inflation, but we can control how we're going to think about it. And now in this show, we are going to discuss what we can do as real estate agents. Tangibly, what can we do exactly in order to drive down our costs? And then also we're going to touch on lifestyle and some things that have worked for me and hopefully they will work for you as well. So let's start with this concept of paid marketing. So when it comes to real estate, yes, we do have to invest. We have to invest in ourselves. We have to invest in marketing. We have to invest in our listings. We have to invest in buyers. However, when you take a step back and you think about your business, most times, now not always, but for most real estate agents, the best clients they've had and the most clients they've had have not come from paid marketing. That's not to say no clients have, but that being said, a lot of our best clients and the majority of our clients have came through other sources other than paid marketing. Now, when I'm saying paid marketing here, I'm not talking about marketing your listing for sale. Instead, I'm talking about putting out a lot of paid ads in order to try and drive new customers, in order to try and acquire new customers. In real estate, that's not to say that this doesn't work, but we tend to need fairly large budgets. We have to be able to test things, and we have to have an understanding that sometimes these clients won't necessarily work out as well as, say, referrals, SOI, and other sources that we're going to discuss today. So start by doing an audit. Simply look at your deals over the last 12 months or 24 months and just make a list of those clients that came from paid marketing. Now, if you don't do anything by way of paid marketing, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I would still do it to determine where these clients are coming from. Now, you may already do this, but take a step back and truly analyze what percentage of your clients are coming from paid marketing. And if a very low percentage is coming from that, then it's time for us to really take a step back and understand, should we be dedicating the resources towards paid marketing that we are? Now, personally, I do this annually. I look at where the deals came from and I trace them all back. It's actually quite a fun exercise. And what I find is very few of them come from paid marketing channels. Now, interestingly enough, there are clients that come in through paid marketing channels, but a lot of them end up not working out, or at times they end up not being my perfect client, or they end up maybe not referring as many people as somebody who came from my SOI. So it's not to say that we don't want to invest in paid marketing channels, but if we are going to invest in them, they better be working and they better be producing a strong return. So in the face of inflation, if we're trying to be real estate agents on a budget, we should be very mindful of trying to reduce our paid marketing, unless that is our main channel. If our main channel is coming by way of paid marketing, great. You can continue to pour gasoline on the fire. However, if it's not, it's time to be realistic about these channels and understand maybe we want to examine other ways that we can grow our business. So with that, what are these other ways? Well, the first thing that you can start doing right now as a real estate agent is you can start improving your phone skills. Now, what I find most real estate agents, especially newer real estate agents, and that being said, also real estate agents in younger generations, tend to not be as good on the phone. Now, this will come with time and this will come with experience. However, what I find is so many of us spend a lot of money on paid marketing in order to avoid the phone. We try to have all of these sorts of drip campaigns and these different types of automated messages that can go out to actually avoid having conversations. When in fact, the phone, relatively free, amazing marketing channel, but it's very challenging. It is challenging to pick up the phone and to call. It really is. So in the face of inflation, when we're trying to be on a budget, this is an opportunity for us to really examine, can we improve our phone skills? Now, the interesting thing about the phone is it is an amazing prospecting tool. It always has been an amazing prospecting tool, and it likely always will be. So why not use this opportunity to get out of our comfort zone and to try and improve our ability to communicate over the phone? So how do we start to improve over the phone? Well, we simply have to use the phone more. There's no real way around it. But oftentimes where our minds go to is we have to start calling leads and calling prospects and calling our past clients. Yes, we absolutely do. And that is a way that we're going to learn very, very quickly. But also, if you're relatively new to the phone, if this is a new medium for you, start by just having conversations over the phone that you could do over text message or email. So if you're reaching out to a company and you can reach out over email, instead reach out over the phone. If you're planning on reaching out to an agent, asking some questions, do that over the phone. So you're going to start using the phone more. Now, what you're going to find is it's going to become easier and easier with time. And then you're going to start opening up and having these conversations with your SOI, with your past clients, and with leads over the phone, and your skill set will improve dramatically. Next, focus on agent-to-agent referrals. Now, agent-to-agent referrals almost have a no-cost acquisition. In a lot of ways, when it comes to referrals that we're able to get from other agents, a lot of us are getting those because of relationships that we've had, or we're just able to interact with them, typically over social media. So this strategy is great because what I love about agent-to-agent referrals is it's not a pay per lead. We're not paying for that lead. Instead, we pay for that lead by way of our commission when it actually closes. So this can be a great engine for us. But really what it takes is our ability to cultivate a relationship. Now, how do we go about starting to do this? Really, one of the best strategies is to start interacting with agents in different markets on social media. That will be one of the best strategies that you can use in order to grow this stream. And interacting with agents on social media is not overly challenging. One of the best ways to do this is to get involved with these Facebook groups, to get involved with online groups, and to start following agents in other markets. And then actually reaching out to them, asking them how they're doing, asking what's going on in their markets, and actually starting to build relationships. And so by doing this, very low cost and can end up being extremely impactful for our business down the road. Next, we need to focus more on the concept of sweat equity. So what can we do that we would normally pay for? What can we do in order to drive business? So there's a couple of strategies that I love when it comes to sweat equity. And one of them is door knocking, but door knocking without the pressured focus of trying to get somebody to list with you. Now, we recently had a guest on the show, Jeff Pache, and he was discussing his door knocking and how it's been a huge success for his business. And so you can go back to that episode and have a listen to it to understand a little bit more about it. But really, if we are door knocking in a way that we're not asking for business, we're just delivering something of value to them, this is such a great way for us to build our business and to actually continue to build our geo farm. And so start to think about door knocking as a strategy that you can use because, yes, it does take time, but it is less expensive than, say, doing mailers to a whole community. Next, we have handwritten cards. Handwritten cards are one of my favorite things that you can possibly do. They have such a huge impact. People remember them, people keep them. They really do drive our business forward. However, oftentimes as real estate agents, we think people don't want them or people don't care about them or I don't know what to say in them. When in fact, truly sending a very simple and it can be short, heartfelt card to somebody thanking them or congratulating them or saying you're thinking about them, that can go such a long way. And it's extremely inexpensive. And also, this is such a wonderful way for us to actually start to get more referrals. And the reason for that, the reason the handwritten card tends to work so well is because it tends to linger with people. Because you'll send that handwritten card. In fact, we got one today from our community association, and it's sitting now on our countertop and it kind of lingers with us. We walk by it, we talk about it, which then tends to increase the amount of thought that we have about this particular company or organization. So the handwritten card is truly like the unsung hero of real estate prospecting. It's relatively easy, it's relatively cheap, people love it. Nobody ever calls you and says, never send me a handwritten card again. And it is honestly such a joy to receive one. Next, we have to start looking at our spending. So the first place my mind goes when it comes to looking at our spending as real estate agents is I start to look at these SaaS products. So what are the SaaS products that I am paying for, and do I have to be paying that cost? One of the main ones that come to mind for a lot of us is our CRM. Now, we want a CRM and we need to have an effective CRM, but do we have to have the most expensive CRM? Are we using all of the features within our CRM, or can we go to a different CRM that can end up getting the same job done? And so these are questions that I'm asking as I'm going through my SaaS products, CRM being one of them. Another one might be your project management tool, might be your digital signing tool. We're asking ourselves, these are tools that we need, but are we selecting the right tool for what we need? And can we downgrade in order to save money? Now, these SaaS products can really add up. And when we're thinking of SaaS products, my mind will then start to just go to monthly reoccurring costs. And so this can be phone, this can be internet, this can be insurance, this can be home insurance. These are things that just naturally will come out of my account every single month. So looking at these and seeing, hey, how can we actually reduce our costs on them? We'll have this compounding effect over time because we're saving month over month. Now, when we're thinking about some of these other things, such as insurance and phone and things like that, look at your board because your board oftentimes can have these amazing discounts for us. And oftentimes they're underutilized. So if you go to your board and you see what they have and what sort of relationships they've been able to build, you can oftentimes cut some of your bills in half because of the relationships that your board already has. So definitely lean into that if you are looking to reduce your costs. Next, we have the concept of our career and where we end up spending in our career. And this oftentimes happens when we're on the road. So we're on the road a lot, and what we'll tend to do is we have some time in between showings, so we go grab a bite to eat, maybe we go and do a little shopping, maybe we're scrolling on our phone and doing some online shopping. There's so much that we're actually consuming while we're on the road. So how can we actually start to reverse that? Now, there's a number of different things that you can do, like packing your lunch and bringing drinks and doing things like that. I always have just like these emergency kit of food in my car. Kind of embarrassing, but we tend to call it emergency almonds. We call them emergency almonds because if I get hungry, I need to have my emergency almonds sitting there so that I can eat them and I can fuel up and go. And what I find is when I'm on the road and I'm stopping and I'm eating, this stuff can really add up over time. So we want to be very mindful of the spending that is occurring while we are on the road. It's surprising how much we can spend in real estate just in between appointments. And finally, we just have to generally look at our discretionary spending as individuals and as households. Now, there's a couple of things that have worked very well for me. The first one comes from the book, The Psychology of Money, one of my favorite books, actually. And there's this line that just really resonated with me. And in the book, he says, when you're thinking of buying something, ask yourself, is it adding a positive or is it removing a negative? If it's adding a positive, stop and think about it or potentially not buy it. If it's removing a negative, then it's probably a safe purchase. So let's think about that. If you have to buy groceries, because otherwise you'll go hungry, you need to buy groceries. So that is removing a negative. Now, if you have to buy the most premium groceries, that's adding a positive. So are we adding something that's positive so we don't necessarily need it, but it's just kind of making our lives a little bit better? Or is it removing a negative out of our life? And if it's removing a negative, then it's usually a safe purchase. If it's adding a positive, then it's something we may want to pause and think about. The next strategy that tends to work very well for me is online. If we are doing any type of online shopping, we need to leave it in our cart for 24 hours. So when we're buying something, we can put it into the online cart and then we have to leave it there for 24 hours. If we still want it after 24 hours, then potentially it does make sense to buy it. However, we will surprise ourselves after 24 hours. Oftentimes, it's a lot easier to just remove those things from the cart and move on with your day. So there are a few strategies for you if you are looking to be a real estate agent on a budget. What's most important here is that we just have an understanding of our cash flow situation. And we also operate with the mindset that this isn't necessarily a negative. Yes, it can be challenging, but we can look at this as a potential positive, a benefit to help us improve our creativity and resiliency and understand there's so many things that we can do in real estate that don't involve spending. Thank you very much for watching or listening to this episode. If you ever want to reach out, I am on Instagram at the.michael.montgomery, or you can head over to revrealestateschool.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next lesson.